Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Accelerate Gov. If you'd like to find your seats, there is some space up the front. Don't be shy. There's lots of room up here on the tables at the front. So welcome, everybody, to today's conference. I'm Siobhan Bonita. I'm a former UK civil servant, and I'm delighted to be chairing and helping us kind of steer through today on behalf of Global Government Forum. Bonjour et bienvenue à Accelerate Gov. Je suis Siobhan Bonita, une ancienne fonctionnaire britannique, et je serai votre guide à travers les sessions d'aujourd'hui. In a moment, we will have our official welcome and keynote address. And after that, the majority of the day will be split up into a series of panel sessions. Translation from English to French will be available all day here in the main hall. So please, if you want to hear French to English translation or English to French translation, you can do that using the headsets from now. So please do grab a headset now. They can be found at the back of the room. So dans un instant, nous aurons notre discours d'ouverture. Après cela, la majeure partie de la journée sera consacrée à une série de tables rondes. La traduction de l'anglais vers le français sera dispensable toute la journée ici dans le hall principal. Alors, s'il vous plaît, utilisez les casques à partir de maintenant si vous souhaitez tout entendre en français. Ils sont au fond de la pièce. I would like to acknowledge that we are gathered here on the traditional and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. For those of you who may be joining us from other places, I would ask you to take a moment to acknowledge the indigenous peoples on whose traditional lands you are living and today working. And this acknowledgement is particularly poignant today, coming as it does immediately after the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, when people across the country have reflected on the truths of the past, they've honored the survivors of abuse, and reiterated a commitment to building a better future for Indigenous peoples and everybody in Canada. On that note, I'd also like to thank our Canadian hosts, especially from Stephen Burt's office, Stephen down here, in particular Helen and Mark from your team, Stephen. And also, I'd like to thank all of our great partners today, our knowledge partners. You can see lists up there. So we have IBM, ServiceNow, Equinix, Canadian Banknote Company, EY, Appian, Converge Technology Solutions, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, Stoneworks, AWS, Keynote, Rubrik, and UiPath. Now, as I said, today is going to be split up after we've heard from our keynote speakers. Today will be split up into a series of panel sessions. You'll have a choice each hour of 2 or 3 panel sessions. One of the sessions will take place here in the main hall. The other 2 sessions will take place on the floor below. So they will either be in room 2057 or 2068. You can see all of this information because we are trying to be paperless. So you can see all of that information. There are kind of screens outside with all of that on it, or it's on the digital agenda that you will have. And just to say, we have quite a quick turnaround. So we have 10 minutes in between each session. So if you could, once you've chosen which session you're going to, if you could make your way to that room as quickly as possible, that would be fantastic. But the one thing I would say is those sessions, we're really trying to build in as much time as possible for you, the audience, to engage. This is very much your event. So we've built in a lot of time for questions from the audience. Please do make use of that opportunity. Don't be shy. Put forward any questions that you have. We've got fantastic expert speakers with us here today. Please do take this opportunity to put your questions to them. We've got some really good stuff happening today, some brilliant sessions, brilliant topics. At the end of the day, there will be a chance to all come back together in a networking reception, so don't rush off if you're able to stay behind. That will take place just outside by the windows with the great view there. We're also at 1 p.m. today launching a new global women's network for female public servants and civil servants. So that will take place at 1 p.m. in room 206. But lastly, before I introduce our speakers, just to say, please have some fun today. enjoy yourself. This should be an enjoyable day. We want you to go away thinking you've really had a great day and you want to share everything that you've learned and you've heard today with all of your colleagues. On that note now, I would like to invite our first keynote speaker. So I'm going to hand over to Stephen Burt, who is the Chief Data Officer of Canada. Over to you, Stephen.
Bon matin tout le monde et merci Siobhan pour votre beau reconnaissance du terme puis aussi pour l'introduction. Mes remarques aujourd'hui seront toutes en anglais, donc je vous encourage tous, tel que dit, de prendre davantage des services qu'on a de traduction dans l'arrière de la salle. Donc si vous n'avez pas encore fait, s'il vous plaît, faites-le maintenant, puis on va aller à partir de là. So thank you all for being here. I'd like to say thank you in particular on behalf of Catherine Lilo, Chief Information Officer of Canada, who would have loved to have been here, but unfortunately is not able to be today. I think we can all agree that in this profoundly globalized world, countries have a greater need than ever to learn from each other's experiences. We have an opportunity to promote success at home by adapting others' ideas and best practices to our own environment. And I want to thank the Global Government Forum for facilitating that exchange and organizing events such as these, which I think are very important to allowing that to happen. It's a great collaboration, and we are very excited to be hosting this event for the second time. I also want to thank you all, senior digital leaders from different levels of government within Canada and abroad, for the work you do and for your commitment to improving public services for citizens in the digital age. This is a place to collaborate, to have discussions and to learn from each other. And it's a place to learn from leaders and their digital success stories. This morning, I'd like to highlight some of the progress we've collectively made in the Canadian Public Service on realizing the goals of Canada's digital ambition, including with a more in-depth look at one of those achievements, the government's renewed data strategy. The Government of Canada is committed to providing Canadians with modern services that are secure, reliable, user-centric, and barrier-free. The digital ambition is our shared plan to achieve this goal. It represents a government-wide approach, recognizing that efforts and opportunities to implement digital solutions exist across every department and agency. It puts a focus on working with our federal partners and organizations to identify common solutions to enhance service delivery, ensuring the best use of technical expertise and public funds. The digital ambition consists of 4 priorities. First, achieving excellence in technology and operations. Second, building data-enabled digital services and programs to improve client and employee services. Third, setting action-ready strategy, policy, and guidance that enables safe, secure, reliable, and privacy-enabled operations. And fourth, but not least, overcoming barriers in funding, talent, acquisition, and culture change to unlock the full value of digital government. We've had a good year. I'm pleased to report that over the past year, the Government of Canada has made progress in each of these 4 areas. In fact, our year in review report identified 17 notable achievements. Don't worry, I won't share them all with you right now. I would like to highlight a few of them, however. First is the cloud adoption strategy. Only 35% of the systems in the Government of Canada are in a healthy state, and cloud is key to modernizing those systems. That said, cloud first does not mean cloud at all costs. While cloud remains a preferred choice for new applications, the decision is more complex for existing ones. Instead, we are adopting the principle of cloud smart. This means the government will rationalize application portfolios and align to the most appropriate hosting models. This strategy will help departments navigate modernization decisions while also addressing challenges they are experiencing. It will optimize the government's use of cloud to maximize business value, to reduce our accumulated technical debt, and to continue to evolve the service-focused culture of the federal public service. Another significant accomplishment has been the launch of the Product Management Community of Practice. This is a first of its kind in our government. Monthly drop-in coaching sessions and demonstrations provide just-in-time support and learning to practitioners and executives across government. Membership grew to over 200 participants from more than 26 departments in 2022-23, and the group serves as a useful way to share successes and failures from a product mindset. It's one example of guidance that enables safe, secure, reliable, and privacy-enabled operations. In the area of talent acquisition, we've seen significant progress in improving talent outcomes. The government has dramatically reduced time to hire in all centrally led digital hiring processes. Earlier this year, a C-suite campaign for CIOs was completed in 10 weeks instead of the average of 28 weeks for staffing processes at the executive level. After evaluating a mix of external and internal candidates from various employment equity groups, a bank of qualified talent was established that departments and agencies can draw on. As well, 34 digital C-suite and non-C-suite placements were completed in that 22-23 fiscal year, delivering on hundreds of mobility and professional development opportunities for executives and aspiring executives. Another process that garnered significant interest in the government includes a cybersecurity recruitment poster, which received more than 1,600 applications, many of them from external candidates. This was the first centrally led recruitment campaign with strong diversity messaging, encouraging all candidates to apply, including racialized and Indigenous peoples, women, persons with disabilities, and persons of the 2S LGBTQIA community. If you haven't taken the opportunity to take a look at the government's digital talent platform, I would encourage you to do so. It hosts an excellent inventory for those of you who are looking for opportunities, or as well as some talent management capacities beyond what you would usually find in jobs.gc.ca. I would now like to turn to a fourth example of progress, this one in the area of building data-enabled digital services and programs. I saved the best for last. Why data? You've probably heard it all before. It's the question everyone asks. Why can't government provide the same level of customer service as Amazon? Well, there's lots of reasons. Myriads of legacy systems that are unable to talk to each other, vertical government structures, and many more, but the biggest reason is data. We cannot be digital without data. That's why we need a data strategy that keeps pace with the changing world around us. After months of work, we have renewed the Government of Canada's data strategy to improve data management across government departments and agencies, while remaining committed to its responsible use and the continued protection of individual and organizational information and privacy. The proper gathering, management, analysis, and protection of data is critical to the development of strong policies and the delivery of effective services to all Canadians. It will allow us to transition to a user-centric service access model where clients and citizens can understand how and why their data is being used. As the strategy is implemented, better data management will improve client and employee services, as well as federal programs through cross-government initiatives such as digital credentials and data integration. Better data also underpins the release of high-value open data sets for public and external use. The renewed data strategy groups together existing work and harnesses what's already out there to move us forward. It's about giving existing pieces of work the formality and weight they need to drive home efforts in the data field. So the strategy shouldn't contain any real surprises. Instead, it validates the great work and effort that is already out there, organizes it, and pushes forward the pieces that needed a little more momentum to move from idea to reality. Based on existing progress and work across the public service, the strategy is organized into 4 mission areas focused on concrete, achievable, and high-impact opportunities. The first is data by design. By this, we mean that data needs to be proactively considered when designing new initiatives and programs. To that end, under the strategy, we will clarify data leadership responsibilities within and across the government, embed planning for data activities in policy, program, and service development, as well as in delivery, monitoring, and execution, and provide clear expectations from central agencies about appropriate resource allocations for data needs and operations in program, policy, and service development. The second area is data for decision-making. We must manage data so it allows better decision-making on issues that matter to Canadians. To do that, we will establish a federal data stewardship model for enterprise data and standards, set expectations and implement common practices, and transform data into insights. The third area, and the closest link to the digital ambition, is enabling data-driven services. Data must flow securely to where it is needed to improve user experience while maintaining trust. To realize that goal, we must drive service design, iterative service improvements, improved user experience, and better outcomes through effective data flows. We must also prioritize open and responsible data flow to improve services to Canadians. and set clear expectations for responsible, transparent, and ethical data stewardship to maintain trust. Finally, we must advance a whole-of-government approach to the management of sharing of data that is from or about any Indigenous person or their community, territory, or nation. The last area of our data strategy is about empowering the public service. Teams must be equipped and supported to effectively integrate the talent and tools they need. This means promoting and improving data careers in the public service, providing opportunities to improve the data skills of all public servants, and ensuring public servants are equipped with the appropriate tools to support their work. I would also add that while we are working on to strengthen the quality and accessibility of data and the tools and skills available to staff, to realize the full potential of the data strategy, we will need the help of every public servant. You are the real experts in the systems and data sets you use every day, and I know that many of you have ideas for how they could be improved. Like all innovative organizations, the government wants to empower you, our colleagues, to put forward your ideas and to take the most promising ones forward into implementation. That's why last year we ran the Public Service Data Challenge, asking you for ideas on how we can improve the government's use of data. The winning idea, put forward by Jay Conti of Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada, involved applying AI to help employees, people, and businesses find relevant public services. And this idea is now being put into action by our colleagues at AgCan. On the 24th of October, the Data Challenge will open again for entries in its second year, and I would urge you all to send your ideas for how government can make better use of data. Whether or not you have an idea yourself, you can volunteer to join one of the project teams set up to research and develop the most promising concepts. You will get to work in an interdisciplinary team with people from across the public service, build skills and contacts in a field that is becoming ever more important to public service delivery, and present your ideas to our judges panel of senior digital leaders. The Data Challenge is designed to put you in the driver's seat and help you develop your skills while improving services and the tools available to public servants. Whatever your role, profession, employer, or seniority, we want to hear from you. So please get involved. You can find out more on the challenge website, canada.governmentdatachallenge, all one word, .com. I believe that our renewed data strategy with the people and talent we have already got in the system provides the foundation we need for data-driven results and outcomes. These include effective, equitable, ethical, and inclusive services programs and policy, enhanced evidence-informed decision-making, trusted and accountable government, greater public value from government open data, and giving Indigenous populations control of their own sovereign data. Our implementation roadmap approach is built upon a strong foundation of current federal processes and data initiatives, and as we move forward with implementation, we want to begin by focusing on actions that are ready for endorsement and adoption within the government. By identifying quick wins, we can expedite their implementation, generating immediate benefits and showcasing tangible progress. We must also identify gaps between the current state and desired future state. Understanding these gaps will enable us to pinpoint the barriers and challenges that may hinder the adoption of actions and impede full implementation. And by addressing these gaps, we can create a conducive environment for successful implementation. As we implement the data strategy, we will simultaneously be implementing the key areas of the digital ambition. It's a 2-for-1. I hope we'll be able to benefit from the knowledge you all have brought here today, joining me in this room with our Global Government Forum colleagues. We have much learned from your collective experience and expertise, so please take every opportunity to share that today, as Siobhan asked. I'm excited to see what happens when we get people from all different levels of government across Canada and around the world together in one room. In Canada, we place great value on sharing best practices, lessons learned, and opportunities for collaboration, and this is the perfect occasion to do just that. So thank you for being part of the worldwide effort to improve public services for citizens in the digital age, and I hope this event helps further the collaboration we need to build together our digital future. With that, Siobhan, I'll pass it back to you. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you so much, Stephen. What a fantastic speech to start the day, because I think, Stephen, you covered a lot of issues there, which we will be picking up throughout the sessions today. So I noted down in particular, really good to hear about your data strategy and the digital ambition that you have, the real focus there on skills, making sure we have the right skills, making sure we bring in the talent at all levels. But Stephen was talking there in particular about the kind of senior leadership on this issue. And then really good to hear a bit more detail about that strategy. So data by design, data for decision-making, data-driven services, and improving data skills. And I think really stressing that data and digital is something that all of us, all civil servants, no matter what profession you're in, no matter what grade you're at, it's going to be affecting you and impacting you. So we want, as Stephen said, all of your ideas today. And there are lots and lots of opportunities that this is going to bring. Thank you so much, Stephen, for setting the scene for us. One of the highlights from last year, I think at Accelerate Gov, was the contribution of our international speakers, including we had fantastic delegation from overseas in the United States. So I'm really delighted. Our next speaker now I'm going to introduce. She was fantastic last year. I know she's going to be the same this year. Please, Claire Martirana, who is the Federal Chief Information Officer from the United States of America.
Good morning. What an honor and privilege to be here with all of you today. And Stephen, I really was frantically jotting down notes to borrow from our Canadian colleagues some of the incredible work that you all have been doing. So I want to put up our slides, if we could. And not sure if there is a clicker to move to the first slide. But I will just cue whoever's moving the slides then. So hi, I'm Claire Martirana. I'm the Federal Chief Information Officer of the United States. My office at the White House works to create and modernize tech policy. Thank you so much. No worries. So we work to modernize technology policies across the entire federal government. So I wanted to show you a little bit about the size and scale of the federal government in the United States. So we have about 430 agencies and bureaus as part of our government. But the top three little images that you see there, that represents kind of the center of government agencies that we work with. Talent at the Office of Personnel Management, and shared services, which we work on with our colleagues at the General Service Administration. And all of the, there's 35 agencies represented in the lower section, and those are high impact service providers. And those are agencies that deliver benefits directly to the public. And there's another 400 agencies that are busy working on their missions every single day. So my office has the statutory responsibility and authority to put government agencies on the right path for technology investments, you know, buying down the legacy IT debt that we have, which is a consistent theme that I hear from all of my global partners. And as public servants, you as same in every country that I get to travel in, we are all driven by mission. We are all focused on trying to deliver services and benefits to the public. And we need technology to actually do the work for us so that we can work smarter and make sure that we can deliver impact to the people that we serve. So right now, as I said, we are focused on technology policy, but we spend a lot of money in the United States on technology. And this is a self-reported number by CIOs. So I know that the number is probably a tiny bit higher than the $115 billion that we are spending. We also have 2.1 million federal employees and close to 6 million contracting partners that join our federal employees to deliver the benefits and services to the public. So it's a very large ecosystem. And what we have found is trying to design policy that enables technology delivery is something that we have been focused on in this office for quite a while. But digital is a default. It is how everyone wants to interact with the government. I think for us, COVID, like many countries around the world, was a defining moment where we all had to leave our office spaces and our normal routines and start to interact across our lives in a digital fashion. So we have a lot of visits on a monthly basis to federal websites. A lot lot of hours. That's about 75 million hours is, I think, if we did the back of the envelope math, it's like 3 million days worth of people spending time on our properties. And our numbers in government are actually lower for mobile utilization. A lot of people are doing this work kind of at their desktop or on their laptop, where in the private sector, my companies were all in the almost 80% mobile. So we recognize that there's a little bit of a deficit there. So we are still not meeting the needs of the public, right? We are constantly asking our public what their expectations are of our government. And 87%, as you can see, want to have a digital opportunity to interact, to complete a task while working with the government. We also fully recognize that we need to be multi-channel, right? We cannot just be focused singularly on digital. There are people that still want to call and speak to a human. There are people that want to come to an office to actually work with a benefits manager to help them get access to the services that they deserve. But what we also have a challenge with in the US is our search engines, right? Almost everybody starts their journey on a search engine to try and figure out. They don't know the complexity of those 430 agencies. They might not know the name. They might not know the acronym. So they start externally. But we actually make it kind of hard to find with precision what you're looking for. This is an example of searching for a healthcare benefit that you get in the United States when you turn 65, called Medicare. I searched on Medicare. You not only get multiple federal agencies publishing content that is duplicate, you also get intercepted by really clever marketers who are trying to make it easy for you to actually access that benefit. And here's the punchline for this slide. To get to Medicare, to apply for Medicare, you don't go to medicare.gov, you go to Social Security. You'd never know that by doing a normal search. So these are things we know we can fix and we are working hard to fix. Also, federal websites have a very different look and feel. These are 6 of our highest transactional websites in the federal government, and they look nice. Right? One of them kind of looks like a private sector company, the one with the woman's image in the middle. They're lovely, but there's no continuity. There is no brand visual identity that actually ties together for someone to understand that they are on an accurate, credible, trustworthy, and verified government website with content that is from the federal government that can be trusted. So this is a really wonderful area of opportunity that we know that we can drive very significant change and increase the public's trust in government. So we're also not meeting the public's expectations. 60% of our websites are not accessible to people of all abilities. And that is a catastrophic failure on our part. In the United States, annually, 60 million people are disabled. Annually, 16 million additional people become temporarily disabled. Could be an accident, could be an illness, injury of some type. So we know that we have to make our websites accessible across the board. We talked about mobile already, and we have a wonderful system that was designed close to 10 years ago in the US called the United States Web Design System. And it's, publicly available on GitHub, but we have not supported that in the way that we should. We are putting some effort that I'll tell you more about in a couple minutes into that effort. Also, this is probably the thing I will be most remembered for in my time in government, is stating these facts out loud. 2% of our forms are fully digitized. And that is a terrible number. It's obviously costing a time tax of close to 10 billion hours for the public, but also we're spending $38 billion on paper, which makes no sense in this day and age for what we can get accomplished. So some agencies do things like have a front end form, a PDF that you can fill out and you can email it in. So you might think you could check the digital box on that, but you actually can't, because when you get the paper inside at the agency, we turn it into paper. And then we process it through our normal business process. So by moving to a digital ecosystem, we have to actually fully reconsider all of our business process. You can't just, it's just like moving to the cloud. You can't just lift and shift all of your applications to the cloud and not do app rationalization. You have to rethink your business process. In some cases, it becomes incredibly efficient when you actually stop repeating the processes and re-engineer that entire workflow. And this is what we have been focused on. The American public deserves a simple experience, a seamless experience when they transit from property to property, from those 6 websites that I showed you. Numerous people start one place and they have to transit to another to complete a task or to start a new task. And secure. Secure is the focus area that we have had in this administration. We started the administration in the middle of SolarWinds, as you might be familiar. Log4j followed shortly thereafter. And we have had a consistent, adversaries are attacking our systems millions of times a day. And it is a focus area for every single thing that we do is focused on cybersecurity. The way that we talk about it is kind of the point of the spear. It is where we have, in a slightly polarized government, you might have heard that we're slightly polarized. It is something that brings us together because it is not a partisan issue. It is an American issue. It is an issue for every government around the world. So how we look at it is cyber has the fastest trajectory right now in our ecosystem. So we're constantly making sure that we can put digital experience, customer experience, and IT modernization on that arrow that is moving rapidly through our ecosystem. And as I mentioned, this administration has done an extraordinary job creating that momentum in order to help us drive the digital impact and the cybersecurity impact that we're working on. A couple of things to note here. Our executive order on cybersecurity started in the beginning of the administration. We have done DEIA, and equity is a huge cornerstone of this administration. Also, our zero trust strategy, if you haven't heard of it or read it, all of these things are available online. We try to make everything completely transparent for our federal, state, and local governments in the US and our international partners. And then we added something to this a week ago Friday, which is the last piece of guidance on the bottom of delivering a digital experience for the public. And that is a culmination of 2 years of work for an incredibly dedicated group of people. A couple of them have joined me here, Justin, Andy. If you could just stand up for a second. These are the types of public servants that do this work tirelessly, just like your teams, year in and year out. And they, along with a lot of our team back in the US, these are the kind of folks that are driving this type of change in the US federal government. So customer experience represented on this slide, customer experience is the big umbrella, right? It is the global language that we use to talk about delivering benefits. But our digital experience is actually more of the technical infrastructure that is tying together all of the use cases that we are working on. And we did something really unique. And again, I think this is new in this moment in time for us. We decided to use our human-centered design competencies, which we developed over many years, to try and do human-centered policy design. And the reason that that is so important is, I always say, people support what they help create. You have to have subject matter experts informing your policy, digital delivery teams that are excellent across government, digital delivery teams that are new, that maybe are not up to speed yet. It is really also important to understand where they are on their journey. So we've created a policy framework by working across the board with our high, medium, and low performing organizations to make sure that our policy can be implemented with excellence across the ecosystem, regardless of how mature a organization is. So these are kind of the framework pillars of our digital delivery. None of them will likely surprise anybody in this room. Going back to some of Stephen's comments, data is kind of that connective tissue for government that is going to help us actually evolve through the ecosystem. But making sure that we can measure and manage all of our data. So analytics are absolutely mission critical, walking all the way through accessibility, as I mentioned, making sure that all of the component pieces are high functioning and that we have not created disharmony by having rules and regulations that are confusing. One of the other things that we're working on is trying to make sure that we are harmonizing our regulations, because oftentimes we will put out new guidance and it kind of piles on top of the old guidance, and we don't rescind older directions, and that causes a lot of consternation within teams. Brand, as you heard me mention, not having that unified visual cue that tells the public that this is a trusted, verified government resource, and that you can take action from the information you're consuming, and trust that you can go on your task-based journey utilizing a trusted government resource. Design, that is kind of, universal, I think, in all of our customer experience. Search, as I mentioned, making sure that starting at an external search engine, you can clearly get to what you need fast and you know that it is trustworthy. Content is something I'm reasonably obsessed with in our federal government. AI is something we're all spending an enormous amount of time on, and it has such incredible opportunity to remove burdensome work from people and really help us accelerate the way that we operate in government and in the private sector. But the way that large language models learn, they learn by searching and scraping the internet so that they can build up their corpus of knowledge. But in the United States federal government, we have been publishing content for 15 years, and we have not taken content offline that is outdated. So the LLMs have actually learned on both very recent, up until 2021 data, but they are also finding data from 2001. And oftentimes it is outdated, so that if you're searching for benefits information, you might not get the right answer from the model because it has been trained on data that is outdated. So we're doing a huge amount of work on reducing duplicate content, making sure that agencies are just cleaning up the things that are public facing so that we can focus on giving you the best result when you search. And then digitization, as I mentioned, digitizing those forms, making sure that our data is clean, it is available, it is trustworthy, and we are doing it with all the right privacy considerations in mind. And I wanted to also, so I gave you some negative stats, but there's also extraordinary work going on across the federal government. I wanted to give you an example of our United States Department of Veterans Affairs, where we care for 14 million veterans. They did a mobile app a couple, I think now it's almost 2 years ago. It has a 4.8 rating in the Apple App Store, which I would get a huge bonus in the private sector if I launched something that had a 4.8 rating. It is really extraordinary. And this example is actually really wonderful because we have a lot of veterans that have that are blind, and that have visual impacts. So they previously had to wait 30 days to get a letter in the mail that, guess what, they couldn't read. They had to have someone read it for them. So in the mobile app, they actually can use full assisted technology. They can get their data so much faster than it being mailed by, normal means. And the assistive technology will read the letter to them. So it's a really wonderful example of a team using the native technologies on a mobile device and actually trying to meet the customer need in this case. The next one is some digital tools. I mentioned Medicare earlier. It's a benefit you receive when you are 65 if you choose to enroll in government health insurance. And the team there has done an extraordinary amount of work modernizing that system. And currently, there was no real way to compare plans that were available for you to purchase. You do have to pay a supplemental amount of money. So searching for the information is becoming easier. They have designed a plan finder tool. And that means that people can more easily find options that work best for them. So we are doing an extraordinary amount in the US. Last week, I didn't have the right slide here. I think I missed a slide. But last Friday, in order to avert the comms shutdown that was going to happen because of the shutdown of our government, we squeaked out a digital experience guidance that I mentioned on one of those slides. I would encourage all of you to go to whitehouse.gov and search on digital. And you will find a blog post that explains what we've done, why we've done it, and then the actual guidance, which is 31 pages of extraordinarily specific information on the digital transformation plan that we have for our government. The team actually designed the interactions for the guidance that would take you directly to component pieces. But it shows you how we're thinking about it, how we're measuring it, how we're trying to drive this change across the federal ecosystem. And we're really excited, hopefully, to come back next year and tell you all about the initial successes that we've had with this digital experience guidance going live. So thank you all so much for your time. Thank you for your service to your customers and the public that you serve. It is important that we are here to learn from all of you, and it's really an honor to be in Canada. Thanks so much, everyone.